me personally, I'm a firm believer, like, when I try to cross sell, I want to find out what's going on with their deals first. I don't want to jump in and talk about, you know, BK leads and mailing when I can't even solidify that ground first. You know what I mean? Because that's my personal core business. But I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm in a tough area where Michigan is probably the heartbeat of like that type of industry. Like one of my bigger dealer chains, like had the biggest lead company in the country. Like in fact, they just sold it to Cars Direct, and they own dealerships too. And I think I probably know 20 different people that own mail companies there, and just from being just in business so long, they're doing stuff that I don't push the products as much as I used to, because most guys are set in what they're doing.
Sure.
And as far as like direct mail in Michigan, Danielle pretty much owns the whole territory, if you're listening. And so I can't even hardly get a pull. She does fairly well with it, but I don't like selling. I want CPS. I want a dealer to be a CPS dealer for what we do, which is purchasing contract. Mail's great. That's the type of stuff I've made a ton of money on it. But you definitely have to weigh the risk of a bad sale versus what.
The relationship.
Yeah, because you you definitely want contracts, and that's your first and foremost, I think. And you know, if you mention leads and the guy's in, but you know, a lot of guys are just doing 3 different things,
and it's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough to focus.
Right. Yeah,
and get their attention.
But believe me, eventually, whatever they're doing, and as long as they know about your product, I wouldn't spend much time. Personally, I don't spend much time selling direct mail to dealers or things. Not that you shouldn't, because if a dealer wants to do it, I mention it. I always say I don't sell it, I tell it. And when dealers do it, I mean, I've done quite a bit of mail.
I used to sell it. I know it's a tough sell. For a mail house here in Southern California.
Oh, wow, right.
It's not an easy sale, but I mean, aside from that, my point is, like, I get it. We need to get them more vested all in with CPS. I get all that. But my point is, like, for me personally, and again, my belief is, why am I going to focus on something else when I can't even get them, like, in my core business, right? I'm supposed to be a lending bank on auto loans. Right. So why am I even talking about those things at this point?
Well, because if they're not doing advertising, then you definitely want to make it, because I always ask dealers about their advertising. And a lot of times, you know, the owner's in bed with certain advertising company, and as you well know, they're probably getting trips to Hawaii, or they get gift cards. I mean, I know I have a couple of dealers that they do mail with me every once in a while, and they always want the price to be jacked up to cover a $500 gift card. I mean, so, and he doesn't even really complain about it, and those are the best ones, because when he tells the dealer, when the dealer asks him how his mail went, he always says, "Oh, it went great. I sold 5 off it. Oh, we made our money back." Yeah. So he just like flips some deals that he did randomly over to his direct mail line, and it makes it look like, and he made $500. But
that's cool.
I think that when you get comfortable with the dealer and he's actually funding a lot of contracts with you, that'll come in. No, but the ones that aren't, that tell you you're dead, that's always when it comes up. As soon as the dealer tells me he's dead, like if you say, "How's business?" he's dead, and say, "Well, do you do any mail?" Whatever. And if there's data available, yeah, definitely sell it to them. And if sometimes they work so good that they'll do it 4 or 5 times in a row, and it's a nice stream. And you know, we don't buy every single deal off it, or we'll buy it a little rough, but like the last mailer I did in Tennessee, the dealer did most of their deals with Capital One.
Wow.
Yeah, because they're a big Capital One dealer. But they could only do the Capital One mailer every other month, I think. Yeah, so he filled it in with ours, and now he's done a couple, so it's kind of cool.
Well, so, what are your thoughts on mail versus leads? I mean, in the sense that, because like, I'm finding that in these rural areas where there's small towns, people are not that internet savvy. So they're not all lead on internet, versus I'll go to my mailbox and look at my mail. Versus,
I know.
So I'm trying to figure, my thought process is, I'm trying to figure out mail versus leads. Of course, they're both and online BK. I mean, they're all very good as what they bring in for the customer, but what's the best thing for me to tell my dealership when they're in this certain area?
Well, it's my experience that I think the leads work really good to a dealer that's equipped to handle leads. I don't think every dealer is equipped to do leads right, and then they wind up complaining about them.
Right.
So,
because I had a dealer go.
They have to have a BDC department and follow up, because one guy cannot buy 100 leads and get them fed to him and do everything else he has to do and actually follow up and work them. That's the good thing about the Blue Sky leads, actually, with the virtual follow-up. So I haven't had a lot of success selling those. I don't know if any of you have. You did? Does it work pretty good?
It's all right.
The guy doesn't like it very much, but I don't know if he had realistic expectations of what it was. Because they're a larger independent, and I told him about the leads, and then I had the Blue Sky people call him and everything. And then I called him maybe 2 weeks ago and asked him, like, hey, are you getting good leads from Blue Sky? Like, what's going on? And he was like, it's not working out the way we thought it was. But I don't know if he's as well equipped, like, to touch on what you said, to handle the leads like that.
Yeah, you got to be really set up. And a lot of dealers that are set up like that, they're already buying the leads the way they want them, and they're happy with the way it works. They don't really like change. But it just depends on the area, like you said. Mailers seem to work good in the rural areas, but
I think a good transition for selling mail or to discussing mail is when they do say they are slow. It's a great opportunity to have that conversation, discuss it, kind of propose get them in contact with their mail rep, as opposed to just hitting them with it when they're busy. You know, in terms of they're doing really well. Do you want to invest more? Do you want to take more of your profits into the mail? You know, they might want to if that's their business model, and that goes into kind of discussing what do they do in terms of advertising. It's good to know what your dealer invests in advertising. If they're putting any money in, even to a local, they're in Michigan or whatever, and they say, oh, we only advertise here locally, but they're putting money out to advertise. Who are you advertising? Who is your niche market? Who are you trying to get to drive in to your dealership? Those kind of conversations will help you determine what kind of business they can generate. Even if we can't, increase our individual profits by selling mail, it's information that's valuable to understanding the business model for that dealership. Or if they're going to drive around in a golf cart, advertising to the locals.
well, yeah, the dealer
That was a direct for Danny, but
I have one.
Oh yeah.
Of that guy.
Does he got beer in the back?
He does, actually. Mini fridge, got a system, 8-inch rims.
he just doesn't have the
He's my
deposits.
bromance dealer. He's my bromance.
Oh, nice.
Any other questions with funding issues? I think before we kind of move on to some of the last bits, any questions you've had in terms of how to handle certain things that, I think combined experience in the rooms doesn't match the issues that Jason's probably handled over the years. Sonny?
As far as returns are concerned, like, because you, in the sense of, I've never done 100 deals. I would love to do 100 deals. But here it is, I'm struggling with my little 21 deals I have funded, and I have 11 returns. So I'm trying to figure out, in the realm of how to combat my return issue, because it's killing me. Every month, it's a double digit. No matter what I fund, I'm trying to figure out where do I try to get my dealers in to the point where we're fighting these returns. And it's not the fact, there are times when it's not the fact that it's the dealer. I've looked at the POI, it's the fact that my funding department, IQuest, is so good, they've found out that this issue is their debt ratio is bad, their POI is coming short, and it's issues where we're finding the job time is deteriorated only because we've checked it a second time or a third time, something's not right. And so I'm losing deals on issues that are just totally uncommon.
I think that if you're funding 21 deals or what and having that bigger return, I mean, that's like almost 50%. So I think with that lower volume, I would take a lot more time just to go over the approvals you are getting. And if they're promised to send and they're, true PTSs from your buyer, I would definitely go over all of them, because it wouldn't take that long for you to look at them, and if you could call the dealer and just double check things that might be red flagged. I'd work, who's your supervisor?
Elsie.
Elsie's knows, you should work with her on some of your, I mean, just think if you went over, so you're averaging a lot of returns per package. If you went over a week's worth of deals that are coming in or whatever and just looked at some apps, maybe she can give you some tips on some red flags, because some of the stuff you can just spot right away. I mean, kind of thing, and maybe try to overcome it and just call the dealers and double check the job times or what.
In my mind, my thought process is if you're doing 100 deals, what's your returns look like?
Oh shit, I don't, they're not that bad, I don't think, per se, maybe 15% sometimes.
You're typically under the
most
in the
my
teens.
I hate to say it, most of my returns, which I don't like this, that I'm judged by them, are missed signature on gap. See, the problem with Michigan is it's a bushing law state, so once the dealer rolls that car, customer owns it. As soon as they send it to state and it goes through, and it's got to go to state within an amount of time, the customer owns the car. You can't get it back, so the dealer needs to send the customer a letter that says, we're your lien holder now, CPS didn't fund your contract, and you have to make payments directly to us. They can't repo it till it's 1 day late. So everybody that does subprime in Michigan, there's dealers that don't do subprime for that reason. They don't want the risk. The ones that do it, they're pros, and they know to double check stuff. They do not want a deal back. So I spend a lot of time going over changes in the application. I mean, it's constant. And, in California, it's a totally different animal. They're rolling the car at 11:30 at night.
Right.
And with no steps.
Right.
And then they're collecting them the next day or whatever, and and they don't care, because I've had dealers just tell me, it's all right, you can't get it done, we're just gonna hook it tomorrow. I know where the guy works, and then they just grab the car. In Michigan, you can't. You'll wind up in court. In Pennsylvania is the same way. The dealer, there's a Wisconsin. Yeah, Washington's a big one. Yeah. Massachusetts too. Yeah. And those are the ones where you should have less returns if you have dealers in that state. But by the same token, I get just as many deals returned that are frustrating in Tennessee, Alabama, and California. But the key is if you're on top of your deals and you've trained your dealers enough to know that application matters and they care enough to not want a deal to get returned, you should be on top of it. And it sounds like you're not overwhelmed too much in volume as far as that, but maybe spend an hour out of your day to kind of look at some of the deals that are coming in before. Maybe just call the dealer and double check and say, hey, that your job time's right, whatever it might be. Because that's too many returns for the amount of deals. I don't mind the returns where they miss the signature and stuff. I actually love to call the dealer and say, dude, what were you thinking? And they'll get, a lot of times because you know how we send it back regular mail, they'll get on the re-signing the contract right away and ship it back before it even gets out of here. I think now, and those won't count as a return because
as long as they're in the same month.
It's a 28 status, and then the new contract comes in, it doesn't go all the way to 29. So you might want to look at the type of returns you're getting and get the dealers right on top of it right away, because if it's a signature thing, you're gonna get dinged on a return that shouldn't even have been. It's not technically a return, but you're still gonna get dinged on it. So
take a look. I mean, that is a high return ratio. Take a look at what are your repeat offenders, because a lot of the return issues like this are starting at the education, the reviewing of the structure, and then not following up and explaining to them. And if you have those dealers, like Jason said, one of the first comments is, how's your funding? Well, how's your app? And it comes back to the app. If we're having deterioration, and in most cases, if we need to call it, no underwriter wants to call an employer 3 times unless there's a need for something's coming up, right? Once they get it's okay, they're moving forward, close that door, on to the next. So if we are getting those kind of situations, there's something inherently going wrong with the application process, the information that's being provided. So that's where we have to kind of hold the dealer accountable for what's coming in and have those conversations, not arguments or confrontations, but conversations about what we need to see and how we can be more successful going forward.
California's a one-third of the nation's cars are driven in California. so we're one-spot delivery.
Yeah.
Because we don't deliver here, we just go down.
Exactly, somebody else will.
That's why the roll call is anytime.
And the funny thing about, if you guys got California, is they roll them from the desk, finance does not have time to go over the deal. Like, they put people out in cars and they don't know where they're financed yet. They have no idea what bank they're going with yet.
Yep.
And then Monday morning, the finance guy's just shopping it everywhere. So, I guess a little bit on relationships. I kind of
we've touched
on most of this stuff. So don't be short with your dealer. I try not to do that because especially when you first sign them up, you kind of want them to know that you're a personality, not a buyer. Just A, B, C, D questions versus kind of asking for more business, that type of stuff. And if he's short with you, that's fine. Don't try to keep him on the phone. If he says he's really busy, say, hey, then if you're really busy, you want me to call you back at a different time, or call me when you get a chance, that type of thing.
I have 3 dealers that they call, they want a deal agreement, I send it out to them.
Mm-hmm.
But they give me these excuses like, well, the business manager, or, all of a sudden, and these were GMs that call me and they want it, so I send them, but they keep making these excuses, and it's 3 different, one's in New Jersey and one's in Florida. And they're both using the same excuses, like, well, I'm not waiting for my business manager because she's the one that has to sign it, the controller has to sign this, And I work for dealers, and I know it's all BS, I don't need that. But they give me this excuse, and I don't want to tell them on the phone, yeah, you're full of shit, But I know.
Well, if they don't want to sign up, maybe you should ask.
But they're asking, so tell me something, or maybe.
Call the used car manager, and say, hey.
What's the GM this is GM that I'm talking with.
Well, then they're probably telling you the truth, because it doesn't cost anything to sign up. And sometimes, like, I have 2 deal agreements right now that are up at their lawyer's office, and they're not signed yet. So maybe that's probably the problem. Mostly good dealers that are kind of on top of their stuff will have their legal department review the dealer agreement back first.
Franchise often.
Yeah.
Franchise often.
Yeah,
That's
so,
my question.
oh, okay, no problem.
That's my question.
And then, let's see here, dealing with different personalities, bullies versus easygoing. I guess we kind of already touched on that. Just be overly nice to the bullies and take advantage of the easygoing guys, right? But anyway, let's see. Oh, how to appear helpful without failing. I kind of touched on that. I try not, if a dealer you want a dealer to think that their problem is a real problem and that you're going to try to help them get it done. And even if it's the most far-fetched thing in the world and they're really adamant on it, that's when you can have somebody and it's an approval, but it's not going to get done because job time changed or there's a huge gap. I kind of touched on this. You call the buyer, make sure they send them out a turnout, and make sure they know that you called to try to work the deal. That way there'll be notes in there, and put your notes in, because I've had dealers call on the backside before, and if you don't have your notes in there, and the buyers might give them a totally different reason or find a way to get the deal done, then you kind of look bad. But I think it's very important to always make a dealer feel like you tried to get something done, even as bizarre as it is. And if it's self-employed or 1099, and even hang up the phone and then call them back and say, man, I took it all the way up to the top and we just can't do that. It does. It looks like you actually tried. Yeah. Instead of just saying no. Say, let me see what I can do. Maybe we can pull a miracle off, and then make something up like, I thought I had a chance because you were on a good car, your LTV was working, but whatever. And then a lot of times they'll say, yeah, we'll get the next one. So let's see. And then this is the biggest one that I kind of obviously already talked on, but don't be afraid to ask the dealer what he needs to get the deal done. So when it comes to a situation when somebody's asking for something completely stupid, you got to ask them, hey, do you have this deal bought somewhere else like that? And see what they say, because a lot of times they won't, and they'll say, well, no, that's why I'm on the phone with you. And then say, well, what exactly, where's your happy medium here where you make enough money that your used car salesman or your GM's going to let you deliver this deal and that you're not going to and you'll still make money. And there's the number. Now, when you get that number from them, always try to get $1,000 more, because if we cut it back, then you already accomplished. I didn't say that, but anyway. Sometimes I'll ask for a little bit more than we need, because it seems like to justify sometimes sign-offs, we cut it back a little bit from what you're asking.
Sure.
Sometimes you're negotiating with the dealer, sometimes you're negotiating with CPS.
Right, so it's just a little trick, like, and it doesn't always work, and sometimes it's not, and it's not like you're trying to get anything over on it, but initially, and I'm saying this because initially the guy wanted 10 times more than he was asking for, and then he really wants this, and then can live with this. So you give him the really wants, try to get that done, knowing that he can live with what we might wind up getting. So every deal's like a little puzzle.
So what are your own beliefs or your own strategies on exceptions or going above and beyond to capture deals? Like for me personally, as I'm establishing these relationships, I try to be upfront with them from the get-go and tell them, hey, I don't mind going to bat for you, but understand I'm not going to do it on every deal. Like we're not going to operate that way. So I usually try to make them work within the, confinements of the structure,
right.
LTV, payment, whatever. Cut you back, hey, you gotta cut 600 on sales price, whatever. They're not happy about it, but they usually accept it. You know what I mean? What are your beliefs? Because I hear mixed reviews. Some people are like, send everything up, make every deal happen.
I only set up, and that sometimes could be wasting time.
Sure.
I've been doing it too long, so I kind of probably kill some deals on my own where I don't even send them up. And it's a benefit actually to CPS
in the long run. Sure.
It's the guy that doesn't know me that well that knows that what I'm telling him, because most guys will be like, they just know that if I'm telling them that we're not going to do the deal. It's a mute point. I'm not even going to send it up, and they're fine with getting off the phone. They're not cutting us off. We're not going to do anything. It's more of the dealer. You can just kind of tell that you've kind of just started working with this guy. He's new at a store, whatever, and you want to make it look like you're sending everything up. I pretty much have a set in my mind. I know what we're going to do. Obviously, LTV exceptions right now are not something we're doing. I mean, let's face it. So you guys, I know you guys all use all three books, and that's even become somewhat of an issue lately. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but NADA is just booking the same price as Kelly a lot now. I mean, it's like, it's almost like, actually NADA's beating them on some cars.
A lot of cars.
Even Ford, right. So what I've been doing is trying to use NADA on my California dealers.
Yeah, I've been using that too.
Yeah, because they're actually getting Honda, of course, but I think Kelly's still a little bit higher on most stuff in California. It's kind of regional, but yeah, that whole 3-book thing is kind of, unless it's a 4x4 and stuff on a black book right now in the winter, those are through the roof.
Sure.
So, but it does help to get LTV exceptions done by rebooking it. And that's always the first thing I ask, especially if he's high on the thing, because usually it's deals where they have a trade-in that they're showing the negative. See, Michigan's kind of cool because a bunch of the dealers there won't show the negative, so they can just put it in the top line, and that actually helps you with your structure. Some states you got to show the negative, and if you just hit, because with our structure 115 plus you're down, and if you're down it's negative 2,800. I mean, it's a thing, and if you put it in the top line because the state allows you to, and you just show a wash for the trade, you're getting a lot more money. So you should run those options by your dealers when you're structuring, because sometimes it works out in your favor not to show negative.
California after that.
But yeah, to your thing, just don't send up stupid deals. Like if you're not sure on a deal, I would check with your supervisor first, because you want the buyer to have a good rapport with you and not think that you're just sending everything up against the dartboard, because you're sending deals up that don't really make sense maybe, and then also you get into the thing where you're sending deals up that we're not even going to capture. And that's one of the things I always ask the dealer, if I'm going to get this deal done, are we getting it? Because I don't know how many times the dealer will say, oh, you ended up losing it to AmeriCredit. Well, then why'd you waste my time? Like, and I'll get pissed at them. Oh, thanks. Dude, I'll get you another one. I mean, yeah, I take it personal a little bit. I mean, come on, you told me if I got it done. I was getting it, and then, and guess what, then 2 weeks later, he calls you on the deal and it got returned from America, and you're getting it anyway. So, that happens actually a lot. I don't know if you guys ever get that. You get a contract in-house that the payment's due in 5 days, you're like, oh, who sent this back to you?
Yeah,
Right? I mean, it's like crazy.
remember that James that we were working together?
I thought it with the Santander. Or Prestige is a big one. They're tough in funding. So I get a lot of bankruptcy deals back from Prestige. Problem is their rates are lower, so the dealer really takes a hit if he didn't give it to us first. He's got to try to either bump the rate or ask for an exception. But yeah, they're pretty tough in funding. They have a couple of niche things that they're nichey on that they don't like and stuff like that. So and by the way, we're not the only bank that's tough in funding. Regional, I hear dealers complain about everybody about funding. They like to they complain to you and make it seem like you're the worst because you're on the phone with them.
Yeah,
so,
it's fill in the blank. It's this dealer, it's that lender, it's, the same. But in the same topic, and as Jason has said, he's got no problem saying no on a deal, telling him it's not going to work, it's not going to fund. And a lot of the veterans and a lot of good reps that have been here for a while, they're not just about saying yes and trying to capture that PTS, trying to get the deal in. We have to say no on some deals. When you're seeing there's an issue, if you see the issue, the underwriter should definitely see the issue, right? So we should be telling the dealer what we need to further address before it comes in. What are my concerns on this deal? I need to check out accordingly. Or you know what? A big portion of my job here is to prevent returns. I need to make sure you're making money wherever, because I need you as a partner long term, not just on this deal. So I need to make sure you're being able to fund these deals. If it doesn't come to me, that's fine, because I don't want to return with you. That doesn't help me. That doesn't help you. That fractures a relationship. So letting them know, as Jason, Greg, all the veterans that I spoke to will, quote unquote, kill deals. They'll tell them this is not a CPS deal. This is not a deal I want to see in house because of these issues. Now, if it comes in and funds, all well. But we don't. We want to let them know where it sits on my level. Coming in. But it's good, and maybe when you have those returns, if you're seeing those same situations of having those conversations and trying to prevent those ones from even coming in, you might be costing yourself a deal here or there, but then you're also building the respect from the dealer. He's not just saying, I want all your business, every package comes in, I don't care about my returns.
Yeah, I wish returns didn't exist, but they do.
Yeah. And then I guess we could just go over some of the practices that you follow and...
well, one of them is staying out of funding. I try not to dwell on it, but I guess it's easier to say when you got a few more deals in house other than chasing to try to get your 30th funded or your 50th funded or whatever your goal might be set up as. But funding generally takes care of itself. The only time I get involved and will actually go look at a deal in funding is when it's in a status 28, or if the dealer under